What could make a 40-foot-long predator with bone-crushing teeth think twice before attacking? What creatures were so formidable that even Tyrannosaurus Rex, the most famous dinosaur of all time, might have avoided them? And more intriguingly, what does this tell us about the complex world of the late Cretaceous period? You're standing in Hell Creek 66 million years ago. The ground trembles beneath your feet, but it's not just T-Rex making those footsteps. Welcome to one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in Earth's history, where even the king of dinosaurs had to watch its back. This was a world where survival meant more than just being the biggest or strongest. It meant being smart enough to know which fights to pick and which to avoid. Why do we love T-Rex so much? It's simple. We humans are drawn to power, and T-Rex had plenty of it. With jaws that could crush a car and a brain as big as a football, this predator earned its reputation as history's greatest hunter. Its teeth, some as long as bananas, could slice through flesh and crush bone with ease. Each bite could deliver more than 8,000 pounds of force, strong enough to lift a small truck off the ground. But here's something that might surprise you. T-Rex wasn't always the scariest thing around. Let's meet the creatures that could turn the tables on T-Rex, starting with Triceratops. This isn't just any plant eater, it's a biological tank with horns. Think about this. An African elephant weighs about 6 tons and stands 4 meters long. Pretty big, right? Well, Triceratops could weigh up to 10 tons and stretch 9 meters. Now add 3 sharp horns to that package, each one longer than a human arm. The 2 horns above its eyes could grow up to 4 feet long. Imagine being faced with those weapons. Still think T-Rex always got its dinner? Here's what many people don't realize about Triceratops. Those horns weren't just for show. Sure, they used them to impress potential mates and fight rival Triceratops. We can tell this from the scarring patterns found on fossil skulls. But when a hungry T-Rex came calling, those horns became deadly weapons. Think about deer today. Normally peaceful animals that can become fierce fighters when cornered. Now imagine that fighting spirit in something bigger than an elephant. The bony frill behind its head wasn't just for display either. It protected vital neck muscles and could act as a shield against predator attacks. How did T-Rex deal with such dangerous prey? It had to be smart. No charging in head first, that would be suicide. Instead, it needed perfect timing and strategy. Fossil evidence suggests that T-Rex would often target younger or weaker Triceratops, showing that even this mighty predator knew its limits. One wrong move, and those horns could turn a hunter into the hunted. Sometimes the smartest choice was simply walking away to find an easier meal. But Triceratops wasn't the only heavyweight T-Rex had to worry about. Enter Ankylosaurus, the tank of the dinosaur world. Picture a dinosaur covered in armor plates with a club on its tail that could shatter bones. Recent studies suggest this tail club could swing with enough force to break the leg bones of even large predators. The club itself was made of several tightly packed bone plates, creating a weapon as hard as concrete and weighing up to 100 pounds. Scientists used to think this tail club was mainly for fighting other Ankylosaurus. But what if you're a hungry T-Rex and that club is swinging toward your legs? The armor of Ankylosaurus was equally impressive. Its back was covered in bony plates called osteoderms, some as thick as a brick. These weren't just random bumps, they were arranged in precise patterns that created an interlocking shield of bone and tough tissue. Even if Ankylosaurus didn't actively fight back, its armor alone was enough to give T-Rex a headache. Imagine trying to bite through what was essentially a walking fortress. Unless T-Rex could somehow flip this living tank over, a risky move at best, it might have been better off looking elsewhere for dinner. Now, let's talk about the true giant of Hell Creek Alamosaurus. How big was it? While T-Rex was impressive at 40 feet long, Alamosaurus stretched to a whopping 85 feet. At 38 tons, it weighed as much as 7 adult elephants combined. Its neck alone was longer than a school bus. Would you pick a fight with something that big? The sheer scale of Alamosaurus raises interesting questions about how T-Rex might have hunted such massive prey, if it dared to at all. For an adult Alamosaurus, size alone was often enough protection, but it wasn't defenseless. Far from it. Those massive legs could deliver crushing kicks with enough force to shatter bone. That long neck could become a whip-like weapon, capable of generating tremendous force at its tip. And if Alamosaurus could rear up on its hind legs, something scientists are still debating. It could literally crush an attacking T-Rex beneath its weight. Recent studies of sauropod vertebrae suggest these animals were far more agile than we once thought, capable of quick defensive movements despite their enormous size. But here's where it gets interesting. What about young Alamosaurus, or sick ones, or old ones? Now that would have been a feast worth fighting for. Enough meat to feed a T-Rex for days. If it could make the kill safely, fossil evidence suggests that large theropods did occasionally tackle sauropods, but such hunts would have been incredibly dangerous. One wrong move could mean death for the predator. Speaking of fighting dinosaurs, let's talk about Dakotaraptor. These weren't your average raptors. They were beefed-up versions built for power rather than speed. Standing as tall as a horse with sickle-shaped claws the length of kitchen knives, they were formidable predators in their own right. One-on-one against a T-Rex? No contest. But here's the million-dollar question that keeps paleontologists up at night. What if Dakotaraptors hunted in packs? Recent fossil discoveries have given us tantalizing clues about raptor behavior. We found multiple specimens preserved together, suggesting social behavior. We've discovered tracks showing several individuals moving in the same direction. And we know that many modern predators, from wolves to lions, hunt in groups. Imagine being a T-Rex and facing not one, but 3 or 4 Dakotaraptors, each one armed with razor-sharp claws and teeth, each one coordinating with the others. Suddenly, being the biggest predator around doesn't seem like such a guarantee of safety. But perhaps the most chilling threat to a young T-Rex came from a surprising source: other T-Rexes. Yes, you read that right. When food was scarce, these massive predators weren't above turning on their own kind. Fossil evidence shows bite marks on T-Rex bones that could only have come from other T-Rexes. Young T-Rexes had to watch out for adults of their own species. Talk about a tough childhood. Recent studies suggest that juvenile T-Rexes occupied a different ecological niche than adults, perhaps partly to avoid competition and predation from their larger relatives. This might shock us today, but it shouldn't. Many modern animals, from lions to polar bears, will eat their own species if they're hungry enough. Life in the ancient world was harsh, and survival meant taking any opportunity that came along. In fact, cannibalism might have been more common in the age of dinosaurs than we previously thought. New fossil discoveries continue to reveal evidence of this behavior in various dinosaur species. What does all this tell us about life in Hell Creek? It reminds us that even the mightiest predators had to pick their battles carefully. Every hunt was a calculated risk. Every potential meal had to be weighed against the danger of trying to catch it. The fossil record shows us healed injuries on T-Rex bones, evidence that these animals survived numerous close calls and dangerous encounters. But perhaps most importantly, it shows us that the prehistoric world wasn't as simple as we sometimes imagine. It wasn't just about the biggest and strongest winning every time. It was about strategy, about choosing the right moment, about knowing when to fight and when to walk away. Recent studies of T-Rex brain casts suggest these animals were more intelligent than we once thought, capable of complex decision-making and problem-solving. The more we study these ancient ecosystems, the more we realize how sophisticated they were. Every species had its role, its strategies, its ways of surviving. T-Rex might have been at the top of the food chain, but it was just one player in a complex web of interactions. Modern research methods, from CT scans to chemical analysis of fossils, continue to reveal new details about how these animals lived and interacted. The next time you think about T-Rex, remember this: even the king of dinosaurs had to watch its step. In the dangerous world of Hell Creek, every day was about survival, and no creature, not even T-Rex, was truly safe. This wasn't just a world of mindless monsters. It was a complex ecosystem where every animal had to be smart to survive. What would it have been like to witness these epic encounters? To see a T-Rex sizing up a Triceratops or carefully avoiding an Ankylosaurus? We can only imagine. But thanks to the work of paleontologists, we can piece together these ancient dramas and better understand the complex world these amazing creatures lived in. New discoveries continue to refine our understanding, showing us that the age of dinosaurs was even more fascinating than we imagined. In the end, that's what makes dinosaurs so fascinating. They weren't just movie monsters or simple beasts. They were real animals facing real challenges, living in a world where every day brought new dangers and difficult choices. Even for T-Rex, the king of dinosaurs, survival was never guaranteed. And perhaps that's the most important lesson we can learn from these ancient creatures, that even the mightiest must adapt, must think, and must sometimes know when to back down. 2.